I'm Dean Williams. I was the former commissioner of the Alaska Department of Corrections. To be clear, though, I was never going to be the commissioner of corrections, nor did I want to be the commissioner of corrections. And here's why. I had a great job working as Governor Bill Walker's special assistant. I had done 30 years of government. I ran McLaughlin Youth Center. I had done a bunch of other state work, and the Governor Walker asked me to be his special assistant. And you have to understand, in government, this is like a dream job. I mean, this is about the best job that you can have. I was Governor Walker's right-hand guy. We traveled together in one day. To give you an example, one day I was in the White House, I was in the Pentagon, I was meeting with legislators, and that's in one day. And that evening, as we're at the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia, a governor's conference with 200 West Virginia state troopers guarding us, Donna Walker, his wife, leaned over and said, "Dean, Bill and I are so glad you are with us. So why would you leave a job like that?" And I certainly was not. Here's what happened now. Governor Walker asked me to do an investigation on why people were dying in the Alaska corrections system. So I hired a former FBI agent. We set on a mission with this one promise and clause that I was never going to take over the Department of Corrections. He agreed. I mean, how could you do an investigation and bring any bad news that you might to the forefront and put on the table? He didn't think, and I didn't think, that you could investigate something, put it on the table for people to see, and then lead it. We both thought it was a terrible idea. So I did that. It was worse than we thought. I wrote this report that I was hoping to give to somebody else to do. And the last assignment Governor Walker gave me, though, was to meet with some of the family members who died in prison who should not have died. And one particular case was a man by the name of Larry Kobach. It was a George Floyd case before there was George Floyd. He died a completely unacceptable death. He was hollering at the Anchorage jail, "I can't breathe, I can't breathe." It was sad, inhumane, and wrong. And so he asked me to meet with that family member as well as others. So the last mission he gave me on this assignment was to meet with Larry Kobach's family, which just happens to live in St. Michael, Alaska. So I traveled there in December 2015. In the middle of winter, with about 3 or 4 hours of daylight in that part of the state. Got snowed out, finally made it to the village, met with the family. All the relatives were there. 20, 25 people, 30 people in the room, all Alaska and Inupiaq natives, family members, looking at me with great suspicion as the white man representing white man's justice. And I apologized there to apologize and show the video of how Larry Kobach died. This is a terrible assignment, I'll be honest with you. All I really wanted to do is get in and get the heck out. I opened up the laptop, ready to show her, and she says, "Stop, I want to pray for us." And she prayed, "Dear God, please don't have my entire family, who now was gathered around me like a pack of wolves." I couldn't blame them. "Please don't have my family be angry at this white man who came to tell us the truth, to bring closure to our family." So I set up the laptop, I press play, and you get to see the whole series of events of how their son was killed. Not intentionally by officers. No one meant to kill that man, but they did. All played out in living color in front of this entire family. And he had died about a year before. They didn't know what had happened. The video's over. Like I said, we're all crying. And the mother began to pray, "Dear God, help the governor find somebody who'll do something so it doesn't happen again." And I was slayed, to be quite frank. Because up until that moment, I thought my life as now a follower of Christ, I hadn't contemplated really to that moment deeply that I had been following Jesus for a while. And I thought, hey, I finally get a job now where I get to hang out with another gentleman who just happens to be governor, by the way, and we have a cool stuff. We're going to Japan, and I thought this was a season of my life where I was going to be getting a reward. I was going to be given stuff, right? Cool travel, cool place to stay. No supervision, no responsibility, really. I was just the governor's right-hand guy. And I thought that was the payout. Until I met Helen Panachuk, the mother of this young man who died, who offered more grace and more mercy than I was, in many ways. And so I knew, I went back, I flew back, got to Nome, flew back to Anchorage, told my wife that night, I said, something happened to me. And I realized it's maybe not about me now. It's not about what I can get from something, it's what I can give to something. And can I be called into deeper waters? And I went back to governor. I said, hey, remember that promise we made, that deal we made, I wouldn't take over the Department of Corrections? I'll break it. But if you don't break it, that's great. But I'll break it. Because something happened to me. Because a woman of no standing, of no stature, of no importance in the world, offered mercy and grace to us over something that never should have happened to her son. So who am I? What am I about? And so God gave me an opportunity to step into very deep waters. And I knew this job was not going to be good. Google my name, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. Because I knew what I was up against. One of the unions called my appointment an unmitigated disaster. I mean, not even a mitigated disaster, but an unmitigated disaster. And that was just the start of it. There was times my wife said, don't even look at the newspaper today, because there was something in there about me, or some opinion piece about how Williams is going to ruin the correction system. Well, that journey, the governor changed his mind too and said, yes, I think you can do it and you should do something to try to fix this. And that journey, leading the correction system here in Alaska for 3 years, led me later, after those 3 years, to be the executive director of the Colorado Department of Corrections, where I worked to make more humane conditions, more redemptive conditions in that prison system. So God led me into a place where I was the top guy in two systems in a way that I had never intended, never thought I wanted. But because I said yes to a troubled place, a troubled time, and sat myself down a minute and said, maybe it's not about you, buddy. Maybe it's about just calling. Maybe it's about troubled waters. It's a mission that you're now being called into. That was the journey.